So right now, the tech press is busy hammering Intel for their obviously BS paid for review that had so many problems in it. Well, I'll just link it in the description below. I don't want to dwell on that because I think that's low hanging fruit. I think it was abundantly obvious it was BS the second I saw it. I think everyone knew it was BS. But what I think most people aren't talking about is why would Intel publish something that's so obviously BS in a world of such spreading information, especially on YouTube? There are so many people like me with almost no subscribers, with what seems like too much spare time, who are actually quite smart. You have people like Adored TV, Good Old Gamer I've mentioned before, TechSpot, Gamers Nexus. I mean, just all hammering right away Intel's results. And the reason Intel had to try to get away with this is because they need to convince you not that the 9900K is better than the 2700X, but that it's better than Threadripper, and that it's at everything that you would use Threadripper for even, and that it's better than the 2700X by such an absurd margin that only the best would even consider Intel. They need to convince you that it's at least 50% better. And the reason is that $600 price point right now, double the 2700X, is fairly permanent. That's not coming down, people. You're not going to see, Zen 2 come out and then Intel goes, well, now the 9900K is $300, so who cares? They can't do that because they can't even make enough chips when it's selling at 600, and that's not going to change even as yields get better. They've had 14 nanometer for years. Yields aren't getting better. They only have so much capacity. And that's the counterpoint I would say to everyone who's saying, why are people trying to make it out like Intel's doing bad right now? They've got record sales. They need to go to TSMC for their chipsets, and they're out, building new foundries. They're building new foundries because the only way to compete with AMD's Infinity Fabric is a litany, a mountainside of peasant chips. They need to make so many chips that they can make enough of the best chips to compete with AMD's mid-range. And that's what it comes down to. People still want Intel's best. The 9900K, that 28-core Xeon, the 8550U i7, that's a 15-watt quad-core mobile i7. It's actually fantastic. I have one. But that's all they want. No one wants Intel's 65-watt quad-core i3 when they can get a 12-thread Ryzen for the same price. That's what this is coming down to. Is Intel is desperate because the only way they can fight is brute force, and they know brute force won't be enough. That's the answer to people who say, why are people saying Intel's doing badly even though they need to build new factories? It's because those factories are preparing for a Zen 2 that's 50% better than Zen 1 and is sold for the same price. That's what's coming, people. They can only make so many 200-watt 28 cores. They can only make so many 100-watt 8 cores, 15-watt quad cores. They can only make so many. AMD can glue them together, though. They can make as many as they want. And so don't be surprised. This is my predictions. Don't be surprised when you still have the best i9s. It's an i7 with marketing on top. i9s selling for $600 against a Ryzen, 3800X it trades, blows, or even loses to. Don't be surprised when they're selling for twice as much or even more than Ryzen, even though they lose. And it's because they can only make a handful a month. And then don't be surprised when i5 starts selling for $150. And also don't be surprised because they are selling i5s for $150 already, right? They're selling quad-core i3s. Now they're called i3s. Well, they used to... Nothing changed, people. Like 14 nanometer has been out for a while. Nothing changed. Overnight, they went from selling quad cores that were unlocked for 250 and then now they're selling them for like 150, and that's because they could have been the whole time. And pretty soon they'll be selling those quad cores for less than 100 and their 6-core i5s for less than 150 to compete with, frankly, AMD is scraping the bottom of the bucket chips. AMD can make an army of good 90% of the marketplace mid-range to high-end chips. Intel can make the absolute best and a pile of cheap absolute worst. But the mid-range, Intel's not going to be able to compete at all. They're desperate. That's where this review came from. And that's why people should be concerned about Intel even though they have record sales. All right, tell me what you think in the comments. Has anyone else thought of this? I haven't seen anyone else say anything like this. All right, good night.